Welcome back to another episode of Real Results with Coach Joe. I'm your host, Joe Villegas. This is the program where we help you to improve your health, increase your wealth, and live a more fulfilling life. And with me today, I've got a very special guest. He is the creator of the best-selling workout program, P90X, the author of many books, but this one included one of my favorites, The Big Picture. He is a coach, a mentor, and an influence to so many people. His name is Tony Horton. Tony, thank you for joining the show, brother.
Hello, Joe. My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on today.
Dude, I'm so pumped to talk to you. I got you all to myself for 30 minutes, so we're going to have a lot of fun and go through a whole lot of stuff, so I'm pumped. I want to get right into it with you. I'm going to take a chunk out of your book right away. I think it's something that we should focus on for folks who want to begin the journey of health and well-being, or maybe are stumbling on the journey of health and well-being, and that is defining a purpose, having a solid purpose. Can you just touch on that for us just to start and kick that one off?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to your health and your wellness and your fitness and your balance and your coordination and your reason why, you know, as the French call it, the raison d'etre, your reason for being. I think so many people lose motivation, end up, struggling through the process of getting fit and healthy. It's because their reason why, the raison d'etre, their purpose is way out of whack, you know. And I think a lot of it is societal. A lot of it has to do with, you know, our perceptions of what we think is important. And a lot of it really has to do with our ego and our desire to, you know, look a certain way in front of people who could basically care less, you know. And I think as quickly as we stray away from the aesthetics, you know what I mean, our expectations of how we want to look 30, 60, 90 days, whatever period of time down the road. And I can't tell you how many people who fail, you know, terribly because they're way too hung up on you know, the size of their pecs, their waistline, you know, right, inches, weight, those kinds of numbers.
Right.
And that, you know, that's an unpredictable journey. There's just no way of knowing how that's going to go because, right, you know, unless you're a professional athlete or you got a trainer, you know, if you follow P90X in my new program, The Power of Four, yep, you'll be okay, but you can't predict the future. You know, I mean, because I don't know how hard you're training. I don't know what your work ethic is like. I don't know if you're consistent. I don't know what kind of plan you have.
Right.
And all those things have to be in play as well. So what I tell people is train today to improve the quality of today, not only physically, but mostly mentally and emotionally. Because when you're exercising, you're releasing norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin, brain-derived neurotropic factor. I talk about it in the book. Yep. And that changes who you are. So it changes your creativity, your productivity, your personality. The glass goes from half empty to half full. Yep. And that's purely because you're taking in oxygen and you're releasing carbon dioxide. And that process, and you can do that through meditation or breath work or yoga or plyometrics or running fast or getting on your elliptical or doing animal flow. You know, I mean, for about 15 minutes plus, right. If you do that, and of course you got to eat right? So you've got to get your reason why. Me, I'm a skier, so I train hard all year round so I can enjoy those 4 months on the hill. Yes. I also train with youngsters. I'm 65, Joe. And so a lot of the kids that work out here are, you know, they're in their 40s, 50s, 30s. And I enjoy, you know, climbing ropes and pegboards and competing with youngsters that way. And so I train with a purpose that has to do with my athleticism and the quality of my life. Right. And I don't know what 65 is supposed to feel like, but it feels better than when I was 25 or 35. I mean, I've got apparently sub 9% body fat, and I do a lot of yoga, which keeps me flexible. I work on my balance and my strength and my speed, not just weightlifting and cardio like a lot of people are stuck in. Right. And so variety is a huge piece of it. Right. But my purpose is just really basically the quality of my life and being able to enjoy rock climbing and mountain biking and skiing and ninja courses and stuff that I love.
Yeah, I love that. And I think what's maybe a little more subtle in your message there, Tony, and something that I've been preaching to folks, the folks I work with for a long time, is taking the time horizon that most people focus on of like, oh, I got to lose X amount of pounds in 10 weeks, in 12 weeks, and expanding that. Like in your case, you're saying, hey, I'm focused on well-being for my life. Like I want to be doing this for a long time. And the second you can push out that time horizon, it really alleviates a lot of the pressure that we put on ourselves, and we can actually begin to enjoy this journey of well-being that we have in front of us and do these sort of, you know, mixed variety modalities and things you're talking about that make the adventure fun and make it a real adventure and not this like slog through trying to just lose weight, right? If all that makes sense.
Yeah. You know, and and the other thing too is I think a lot of people are still stuck in that mode, and I don't know how the heck maybe you and I, Joe, can solve that problem.
Let's do it.
For
Let's
folks.
do it.
But really understanding that if I do something today, the quality of my life improves today. And I think too that a lot of people are they're all hacking their way to longevity.
Yeah.
Which, like, yeah, I mean, if I live into my 90s and I'm killing it, that would be great.
Right.
But I want to perform on the hill when I go to Jackson Hole next week. You know what I mean? And it's really about next week. So I got to train today for that.
Yeah.
And then I keep going. Maybe into my 80s and 90s. I don't know. I mean, I look at a lot of my peers, people that I went to high school and college with, and they're kind of done. You know what I mean? It's kind of unfortunate that, they're approaching retirement and they're living through their kids and grandkids. And not there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
But I just think that, the last 30 years of your life, you should be kicking butt, taking names, as opposed to slowing down.
No doubt.
That's also my purpose.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely think it's a case of like a pay now or pay later, right? If you make that investment in yourself now, you can reap those rewards as you age, get older, and have these awesome experiences in a physical manner, right? But also a mental manner, right? You have that stability, that balance in your life because you've put so much time into your own health and well-being. That's the investment that I'm making now here in my 30s. So hoping I'm kicking butt well into my 60s and beyond for sure.
30s.
Yeah, I know.
You're such a youngster.
I know.
Oh, what's it like?
It's all right.
Yeah, I love that you say experience is an adventure. Yeah. My wife and I were in Europe, and we were on mountain bike tours everywhere we went. A lot of people are in their car taking pictures.
Right.
What I mean? We were on Caesar's Appian Way outside of Rome on our mountain bikes. Couldn't have Caesar made this flat?
Right.
Like these cobblestones were hideous.
Yeah.
But man, it was an adventure, you know what I mean? And we were right on top of everything. And a lot of people, people in their 20s and 30s who aren't taking care of themselves, people who are overweight, are not having that experience. They don't get to go see that. They don't get to be on top of things.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't get to hang out with some other adventurous people. The people on our tour were from around the world.
Wow.
And it was just an amazing day. And then the same thing with Paris, riding our bikes around the Arc de Triomphe, you've seen the car, like, let's get in there and join the cars. You know what I mean? Like, I was a little scared. But, and when I'm in Jackson Hole and I'm skiing in the snow, like it's going over my shoulders at 65, and they had such an amazing ski season that year, there's a lot of people that were just intimidated by all that snow, who were, that were staying on the groomers and stuff.
Right.
And that's fine, but, life's too dang short. And as a 65-year-old, I don't know, maybe I have another 30, 35 years would be nice. I just want to charge now. And that's the reason. If you find those reasons, if you find get outside of your comfort zone, do something a little bit scary, and train to get there. There's regular exercise, there's training for adventure, and then there's having the adventure.
Yeah.
And that's another reason. That's another one of my purposes.
Yeah, no, I love that. And so what I want to kind of like segue into now is sort of like another point you have in the book is to have a plan, right? You can have a dream, but once you schedule that thing, it starts to become real, and you got to have a plan on how to get there. And so folks watching this may say, hey, maybe I'll try P90X if they haven't. And actually, truth be told, I wanted to share with you today, I didn't prior to the show, the first formal workout program I ever followed in college was P90X. I was not the athlete of the family. I was a band kid, math nerd, and I was like, I got to lose some weight, did a little too much partying, and I did the program, dude. I did it for 90 days, and it whooped my butt, but I lost the weight, and it skyrocketed me into the realm of well-being, and now I'm a coach and do all this stuff, so I have you to thank for that. But back to, enough about me, back to the point is helping...
No. Hey, when it's about you and it's about P90X, it's also about me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, so I have you to thank for that. But for folks who are watching this, they say, hey, well, I want to get started, maybe I'm not ready for a program like that. How can they begin to put a plan in place to get to that goal? Like, what are just some kind of tips or tricks, things you have that they can do to just get the momentum built?
Well, the plan is everything. I mean, it's interesting that we plan everything in our life. There's things that we do. We go to work, we pay our bills. We know what time to get up in the morning. We know what time to get up, to go to bed. When we plan our vacations or emails or conversations like this, everything is planned because there's a priority to it.
Right.
And for some reason, I don't know why people who they think they want to get in shape, but planning when they exercise and what they're going to do when they plan it is on the bottom of the priority list, well, it's no surprise they're not going to be consistent.
Right.
Consistency is everything. We're consistent with eating and breathing and working and paying bills and taxes and going to work and all the stuff that we do to survive on planet Earth. But I think most people, if you had to give them the option, they'd like to thrive, and exercise and eating decent food is really at the base and foundation of everything else. And so if you plan it, you'll do it. If you wing it, you won't. It's just, with me, I mean, my schedule is pretty locked in. Sundays I do my ninja thing with my buddies at 9 o'clock. It's almost 3 hours because only one of us are going at a time. It's kind of like a gymnastics competition. There's 16 exercises, and people come and we charge, and it's all morning long. That's our church on Sundays. Monday is cardio, and it's at 5:30. Chest and shoulders and arms are at 8 o'clock on Tuesdays. Wednesday is plyometrics.
Right.
We got a new one called changing plyometrics to animal plyo, which will be scary.
Cool.
First time on Wednesday. And then Thursday is chest and back, Friday is yoga, Saturday is either a run or a day off. It's locked in. The world knows. I tell everyone not to schedule anything during that time.
Yes.
And so if you just did that, then you'd have those windows, and then you would show up and you would do it. And if you didn't, you'd feel guilty, I think. And the other thing too is knowing how often to train. Now, if you really want to see dramatic, you look at P90X, it's basically 6 days a week.
Yeah.
The power of, most programs that are 5 or 6 or even 7, I mean, 7 being like sometimes there's some mindfulness practices where you're just, lying down and breathing.
Right.
But there has to be some kind of activity where the oxygen's coming in, the carbon dioxide's going out. It's got to be often. And if you can do that, and you make it a priority, and you understand that improves the quality of your life and longevity and flexibility and balance and strength and quality of life and all these things, then you just automatically go, oh man, this is vital for my existence as a human being.
Yes.
And then, you end up like this 65-year-old where you're still charging really hard, and you understand how important it is because you've planned it ahead of time.
Love that, for sure. And Tony, we will continue to help folks in getting their plans together. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to continue sharing all these tips to help you get real results in your life. Hey, it's Coach Joe here, and I want to thank you for checking out this episode of Real Results. Since becoming a coach over a decade ago and getting to help tons of people make incredible transformations, I've made it my mission to find the most effective tools to help people change their health and ultimately their life. As a thank you for watching this episode, I've created a series of free mini courses, downloads, and resources that you can use to create real change in your life. Simply click the link in the description or head over to www.resultswithjoe.com and click on the free resources tab. All you have to do is sign up using your best email address, and you'll have access to all the resources straight away so you can start to create real change in your life. I look forward to seeing you on the inside, and let's enjoy the rest of this episode. Welcome back to this episode of Real Results. With me, I've got Tony Horton today, and we're just getting through an awesome conversation on how folks can define their purpose when it comes to well-being, but also how they can set up a plan. And Tony, you and I both know that as we train, we can't just be pounding the weights all the time and going super hardcore, beast mode nonstop. There's an other side to the coin. So let's touch on that a little bit, about how can we rest, recover, get our minds right, all that stuff. I know you've got plenty to share on this topic, so hit us with it.
Well, you look at LeBron James, for example. The guy's 109 years old. He's scored more points than anybody else, and he's still averaging 30 points a game. I don't even, there's some genetics there, but it's also his discipline when it comes to his recovery and downtime. There's a lot of professional athletes that are sleeping 9-10 hours because they're beating the crap out of their bodies.
Right.
And sleep is the number one recovery technique that most of us have, and most of us aren't even doing that well. You know what I mean?
Right.
We got 20-year-old pillows and crappy beds and sheets and noise, and they're just not dealing with what even the room they're in. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like my wife and I have everything kind of set up so that we're going to have a quality night of sleep.
Right.
I mouth tape. That's what read David Nestor's book Breath, and you'll see why people are doing that.
Right,
and a breathe right. My wife's got the mouth guard, the ear things, and the earplugs, and we just forget it about making love. It's just not going to happen the way we go to bed. but we get restful nights and we sleep really well, and that's part of our recovery. I have a cold plunge. I absolutely despise it. You know what I mean? Not my favorite thing to sit in 40-degree water for 3 minutes.
Sure.
But I mean, I feel amazing. Also, we have an infrared sauna. There's foam rolling, which is really critical. Theragun is another one. Getting a regular massage. I know people have never had a massage in their entire life. It's not like you find the right person. They come to your home. It's not that expensive.
Right.
And then, of course, other mindfulness practices like, just learning to chill and playing music and going for a walk. And I have my dog, Charlie. I just spend as much time with this animal because it helps me be present. Right. I do box breathing. I do body scan meditation, and I didn't do any of this stuff, prior to me getting sick in 2017 when I got Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. But when I came out of, hell, I realized that I was burning the candle at both ends. I thought I was doing everything right. I was eating and I was exercising, but I was just stressed out, you know what I mean? And I don't mind being sore all the time, that's part of it. But I was overtraining and I wasn't dealing with the mental and emotional stuff that was happening in my life. Right. So if you want to train hard, there's the physical, but you've got mental and emotional things because if you're a human being on Earth, there's probably you're having those kinds of stresses. Then how do you chill? How do you let that pendulum swing in the other direction for 5 minutes? I mean, this morning I had a headache, which I rarely do. Right. So I did this breath work, this box breathing this morning in bed, and it went away. I didn't have to, take some kind of meds or aspirin or anything. And it's amazing when you learn this stuff and how important it is, because that allows your body to recover faster. You'll have more energy and enthusiasm for what you're trying to do, and you'll achieve your goals without the aches and pains and stress that happens without it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny, right? Like if we just slow down a little bit and take that recovery seriously, do this stuff, you actually are really drastically decrease any chance of like injury or burnout or whatever, and you can get to your goals faster and not be laid up on the couch because you went a little too hard up front, right? So taking that time, and I know you listed out a whole bunch of modalities, and folks watching, they might not have access to a cold plunge or an infrared sauna or all these things, but like you said, simple box breathing. I know if I just go on YouTube and type in box breathing exercise, it gives you a little one you can follow right there. It's free. Do that for 3-4 minutes, and I'm telling you, because I've done it myself too, it is totally game changing. Like your whole state just changes by doing something as simple as some breath work. So incorporating that is absolutely critical.
Download the Calm app.
Yeah.
CALM. It's 10 minutes in the morning. Your 10-minute morning. I mean, it's so simple.
Yep.
And box breathing, if people don't know what it is, you inhale for a 4 count, you hold your breath for a 4 count, you exhale for a 4 count. And then during the exhale, you do a 4 count. And it doesn't have to be 4; it can be 5, 6, 7, 8, depending on your lung capacity. And there's different. You can Google or DuckDuckGo ways to learn how to box breathe based on your anatomy.
Yes.
And take a nap. I mean, don't feel bad. I mean, there's cultures all around the country that have siestas where you're taking but don't make it more than 15 minutes, or you won't know what day it is when you wake up. It's really important. Every pilot in the Air Force, Navy, Marines know about fighter naps, what I mean? When you're completely exhausted, just shut her down, but make it no more than 15 or 20 minutes. Right. And none of that costs anything. And you can buy a tennis ball or lacrosse ball to work out those adhesions. It's all about bringing down the stress, bringing down the inflammation so you can get back at it the next day and feel successful and be consistent with it too. Yeah. That's everything.
Consistency is everything. So Tony, I know we're kind of coming toward the end of our time here. I would love to hear from you because you're on the forefront of the industry. What's new out there? Like, what do you see? What are these trends coming up? Maybe things that are more effective for training and reaching our goals that folks might not be totally aware of just yet. Would love for you to share.
Well, what's new is old in a way, because there's a lot of things that I'm doing that just maybe aren't as popular with the majority of people who are trying to exercise. I mean, there's so many ways you can get on your bike and you can do dance stuff and you do the traditional stuff of lifting weights and doing cardio. I think the vast majority of people who have the best intentions in the world, but they're very myopic about their training. I mean, there's a lot of cats that are still lifting super heavy, and it's all about weights. There's some body weight maybe involved, and then they're doing some kind of basic cardio thing, like taking a class or getting on elliptical or getting on a treadmill or something. And I've discovered in my 60s that speed, balance, and range of motion is as or more important than weightlifting and cardio, right?
Wow.
So I do martial arts, which is like, that's not new, but, just the twisting and the turning and the punching, either on a bag, shadow boxing, whatever it is,
right.
there it adds some speed. And I go to the track, man, and I run. When I go for a jog, I was in Scottsdale with my wife, and I do this walk, jog, sprint routine instead of just jogging.
Yes.
So I'm playing with 3 different gears as opposed to just one gear.
Right.
And I notice that my split times are shorter by actually walking for part of my
awesome.
journey, which
Wow.
just activates there's more muscle recruitment when you change speeds like that.
Right.
And owning and balance is everything. I mean, you get that in yoga. A lot of people, how many people skip the yoga? Did you skip the yoga,
No,
Joe, when
dude,
you did P90X? Good boy.
That was the hardest part of the program, was the yoga. Like, I'm a big guy, we haven't met in person. I'm 6'4", like I'm a big dude. And that yoga is the most challenging piece, in my opinion, of that whole program.
It's gold because you've got balance, you've got strength, you've got flexibility, and you have the mindfulness component all on a mat in your bare feet. It's perfect.
Yep.
There's one thing that is kind of new that I'll talk about is animal flow or primal flow.
Okay.
Which if you don't know what that is, you'll have to Google it. It's just it's almost like capoeira in a way, but it's not so dancey.
Right.
There's crab pose and bear pose and beast pose and gorilla, and you're doing all these kind of twists and turns. It's one of the most unusual and difficult things I've ever just started trying to do, and I've known about it for 3 years, and I've been afraid of it, but I was afraid of yoga for 5, and then now it's a critical piece to my life.
Sure.
So I think if you're working, the bottom line is work on speed, run fast, move quickly, work on your balance, get a slack line, do more yoga. And then, anything that involves more range of motion, because when you work on those things, like yoga was one of them, then you're going to be more durable and less vulnerable, and with all the other things that you're going to do, and you're going to help your recovery go much quicker. And so, you're going to just to avoid the aches and pains, and you're going to be able to be more consistent because you're not dealing with those things. And so in the long haul, you're going to be able to ski with me when we're hanging out in Jackson Hole at my yoga retreat.
Heck yeah.
At the end of January.
No doubt, man, for sure. And what I love too is you're not just always talking about like, hey, it's this modality, that modality, or like really training specific type things. I love how you're always incorporating like, hey, we're gonna go hiking or do rock climbing, actual applicable activities with these things. You're not just locking yourself in the gym day in and day out. So for folks watching, they're saying, hey, I don't know how to program a running program or a weight training program. Like, dude, just get outside and get active. Go climb, go to a rock gym, go hiking, get out in nature. You will do all these things that Tony is talking about by virtue of just moving your body through space. It does not have to be anything super complicated. So
the people who are consistent, the people who turn this stuff into a lifestyle, they have, like I said earlier, they have the regular exercises that they do that helps them lose weight and get strong and flexible. Then they have other exercises where they're training to do the adventure that they want to go on, right? So there's regular exercise, there's the training for adventure, and then there's having the adventure. And if the training for the adventure and having the adventure is critical to you because it's fun and it's exciting and you're doing neat stuff with other people, like I go heli skiing, which is like, when I first thought about that, I was, jumping out of helicopter. We don't actually jump out of helicopters. It lands, we get out, and then we go skiing. But it seemed like helicopter crashes and avalanches. That's what I could think of. So I did like 5 years of research before I finally had the cojones to get out there. And it is the super most thrilling thing I've ever done in my life. But, for some people, it's just getting on their bike again. Or maybe you used to skateboard as a kid, and you want to try that. You know what I mean? And so regular exercise to get your body prepared to train, to go out into the world, and have the kind of adventure you want to have. And that's all about longevity. That's all about quality of life. That's all about consistency. And you have to plan that stuff. And you got a brand new purpose now, as opposed to, I want to look good in a dress at a wedding in front of a bunch of people who don't really see me. And then what am I going to do the following Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? So it's a completely different strategy. But if you adhere to it and you believe in it and you have faith in that, what I'm saying, and anybody who I've turned that on to goes, I get it now. I got my exercise. What do I want to do? I want to mountain bike. I want to try to rock climb. So here comes some other kind of training. And then I schedule those events throughout my life. You know what I mean? And then you're living the lifestyle, and you have the life that you want. It's brilliant.
It's a simple formula for a life that you want, and I think that is a perfect place for us to wrap it up today. Tony, thank you so much for coming on. If folks want to check you out, they want to check out your new programs, your books, all that you're doing, where can they find you? Where can they follow you?
You can go to TonyHortonLife.com because there's a yoga retreat coming up in Jackson Hole in January. Check us out there. And then My Power Life, use the Tony30 code to save yourself 30 cents. And then PowerNationFitness.com. I'm not with Beachbody anymore. We've got several trainers, great programs. The Power 4 is 24 workouts. We got a brand new one for women based on their hormonal cycles and called Power Sync 60. It's the P90X for women in a sense, and it's really, really changing women's lives because it's all based on their hormonal stuff. Power Sync 60 is the one that's most popular on the PowerNationFitness.com.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, Tony, brother, appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And for all of you watching, we'll see you on the next episode of Real Results.